So I just started this new analysis series on my channel called Subs vs. Dubs. Everybody is misunderstanding what it is, but it's really important to me because this whole issue of translation and the way that translation choices change how people perceive a show, it's something that I've done a lot of work with, and it's something that that I really enjoy doing. It's one of my favorite subjects for analysis. So today, in our time between classes, I was wanting to talk about what your favorite subjects of analysis are, and because I figure that's something that you guys want to talk about, because they're your favorite subjects of analysis.
Yeah, because we're losers like that.
Yeah, of course.
Alex, you go first. I don't actually. I have to really think about this.
Well, me personally, I know this is a little boring compared to some other stuff you could analyze out there, but I'm a big character themes kind of guy. I just like looking at how people operate in these stories, and like how they get from point A to point B, and like viewing the journey and how, you know, like the certain steps they take to get from becoming being an asshole to being not as much of an asshole, maybe even a good person. And yeah, themes also, it's another cool thing because it's just, what is this story trying to say? What is it trying to achieve? And how does it go about achieving that through the components of the story, through characters? And sometimes the character developments parallel the themes, and it's good. That's my thing, because I like writing and I like figuring out how people work, so I like figuring out how fictional characters work.
There you go. For me, yeah, I have to say it's the combination of elements. Not so much like I mean, I guess like if I had to pick a personal element I like the most is cinematography, but I don't talk about cinematography that much on my channel because it's not super important to the narrative unless the story itself calls for it. So my viewpoint is I like shows that use the medium to its fullest potential, which I think is very lacking in most anime and narratives. That's why I was such a big fan of Tsukigakure, whatever it was, is that it really did a good job of using the sound design and so on. So I think my favorite part of analysis is how they combine multiple elements of filmmaking together into something that's unique and new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all that sounds awesome.
What about, like, I know we talked about our favorite subjects of analysis. Like, I assume this is, like, what we like analyzing, what we like seeing analyzed. But is there anything that you don't see yourself being much of an expert in, but you like seeing other people discuss? Like, I know for me, when Digibro did his videos on, like, he did one on Taku Iwasaki and Suneo Imahori, hoping that pronouncing that right. But yeah, he did like musical analysis, and I'm pretty terrible when it comes to like analyzing music. Like, how does it get to this? Like, I just think, oh, that sounds cool. So I like hearing people analyze music, and I'm gonna try giving it a shot down the road. It'll be fun. I might suck at it, but it's interesting to see people kind of try to put words to what is not easy to put words to. In this instance, music. How do you figure out what makes this music great? Does anyone else have anything like that?
Yeah, for me, it's always been like more so on the side of talking about like the artists.
Matt, I think someone shoved you in a locker. Your mic is very echoey right now.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, I know what it is. Second.
I'll go get a janitor. We'll help him out.
Oh no.
Somebody unlock the locker. Matt is suffocating.
We gotta get him out. And then we gotta find the guy who put him in there and put him in a locker.
We'll challenge him to a children's card game.
School. Is that better?
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot my mic setup changed since the last time I was here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we do. You guys are a bunch of bullies. Throw me in the locker like that.
Yeah, how could you do that?
No, what was I saying though? I don't even remember now.
Something that you're not great at like discussing, but you like seeing other people discuss.
Yeah, I know, but I had something else going on about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember what it was, but basically...
Play the track again.
Start over from the top, boys.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I think my thing is I like whenever I see something I like someone doing, I always just instantly go, "Oh, I want to try that," and then fucking fail miserably at it. Like for instance, comedy. Like I try making comedy videos and I'm terrible at them, but I still make them because they're fun. Mm-hmm. So I guess does that count as? Oh wait, no, I know where I was going with it. Now I remember. Is talking about professionals like in the industry. I don't know much about the Japanese industry or Japanese culture too much. Like I know a lot from like anime and from like research and stuff like that from like the panels I've been to. But like when it comes to like cultural differences between America and Japan, I don't know like a ton of stuff about that kind of information. So when I'm trying to talk about some stuff, I'll misanalyze something. I'll overthink something in American or Western ideals, and people will be like, "Actually, you're fucking wrong, you dumbass." That's how. I think who is that? The Kampai effect. I hate giving that guy credit. I'm just kidding. I don't really care about him too much. I don't watch too many of his videos, but he has a very good like understanding of that kind of stuff. He knows all the industry professionals. He knows all that stuff. I think he's one of the guys who's really good at going into detail about that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say something like that too, because one of the things that I know absolutely nothing about when it comes to anime is any of the behind-the-scenes stuff. I don't know anything about studios, I don't know anything about animators or directors or writers or any of that. So seeing people go into depth about, oh, this studio made this thing in response to this other studio doing this thing, which started this whole movement in anime, so anything about the history of the movement or, like, the identity of different studios is really cool to me, but it's not something that I could do or really have any interest in doing myself. Yeah. Another thing kind of along those same lines is talking about individuals, especially writers. Like, why did this person write this thing? What does it mean to them personally, and what were they trying to say? And how does that relate to how other people are interpreting it? So I find it really interesting to look at what an author gets out of their own work, as opposed to what an audience gets out of the author's work. But it's also not something that I have the knowledge to do, so.
I concur.
Mm-hmm. Plus all this stuff about, like, cultural analysis, like you were talking about, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know anything about Japan, aside from that, like, Bill Wirt's History of Japan video.
Good video.
Which is all you need to know, really.
True story.
Yeah. So, aside from that, I don't know anything about Japan. I don't know much about Japanese culture. I know, like, all the popular stuff that every weeb knows, but that's about it. So, that's why I don't really feel confident analyzing something like Kimi no Na wa, because that's, like, the most Japanese movie that I've ever seen. Which is why I'm really excited to see the J.J. Abrams remake of Kimi no Na wa. But, doing any kind of cultural analysis is stuff that I just don't feel qualified to do, and again, something that I just don't enjoy doing all that much. Like, I like to look at narratives as sort of this self-contained thing, and when you take a Japanese narrative and you port it over to the United States, or England, or any other predominantly English-speaking culture, it's just interesting to see how those ideas, which were interpreted one way in Japan, are interpreted differently in these cultures.
Kind of like how Goku became Superman in Dragon Ball Z.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was totally cultural.
What was it? You were actually going into a good leeway. I think you should probably talk more about your subs versus dubs series, because I don't fully grasp on what you're talking about for that kind of stuff. I've only watched the which one? The My Hero Academia one.
Yeah, the only one that exists right now.
Yeah, so continue.
Yeah, sure. So with my subs versus dub series, what I'm talking about is the differences between the translation choices that were made by the subtitlers and the dubbers. Because they don't use the same words when translating Japanese into English. Mm-hmm. And the differences in their word choice have implications on characterization and narrative. So, like, for example, there are some very major changes, like when Deku is clawing Bakugo out of the sludge villain in the dub, he says, "I couldn't just stand there and watch you die." In the sub, he says, "You look like you could use some help." So that's a very obvious difference, but there are also incredibly subtle ones, just like very small changes in phrasing that seem to hint at one mentality or another that can have big impacts on a character. And the most prominent one that I can think of comes from my thesis work with Frozen and its French dub. Because in English, during Let It Go, Elsa says, "Let it go," which is an imperative sentence. She's giving herself a command. So you have to ask, what is she letting go of? What implications does that have for her character? What mentality is she in? In French, she says, "Libéré, délivré," liberated, delivered. It's not an imperative sentence. It's not a command. It's a declarative sentence. She's talking about the state that she's in at the moment. She is already free. As opposed to in English, where she's saying, "I have to do these things to be free." So, it's just a very interesting difference, and that's the kind of thing that I really like to analyze.
Yeah, I agree with you, because that was one of the things I noticed when I was working on one of my Hero Academia videos. I don't know, I think we've had this conversation before, is that in the subtitled version of the script, there was Tokiyami makes a metaphor where he says, he chases the rabbit, the one who chases the fox. You get that?
I just watched that episode before we started recording this, because I'm taking notes for the second part of that video.
Yeah, it really threw me off. It was like he says, the fox who chases two rabbits catches neither, which I thought was a really good metaphor for what he was talking about. But in the dub, it's something completely different. It's like the captain of the ship is like strength or
it's
whatever.
Skill, not power, that steers the ship or something.
Yeah, that was it. And it was like a completely different metaphor that had a totally different meaning from the subtitle.
It's skill, not strength, that governs a ship.
That's exactly it. But I was just like, why would you change such a weird metaphor? And I was starting to do a little research into it, and I found out that one of the main reasons is that a lot of the dubbing teams, I hope they don't take this the wrong way, are kind of lazy in a way. They don't want to change the lip flaps for editing. The less they have to change, the less they have to pay the editors. So the people who are in the dubbing studio will try out different lines to see if they just magically fit with the lip flaps.
Right.
So I'm wondering if that's one of the cases where that metaphor happened to fit with the lip flaps, and if they did, then they just probably changed the metaphor despite it having a different meaning. That'd be something interesting you should totally do for your video, is try to sync them up, see if they're the exact same animations, or if they did any alterations to it to make it match.
Which is another thing that I came across while I was doing my thesis work, because when Elsa says the last line of Let It Go, she says, "The cold never bothered me anyway." In French, she says, "Le froid est pour moi le prix de la liberté," which means cold is the price of freedom for me. She could have just said cold is the price of freedom, and it would have fit perfectly with the meter and with the meter of the song, and it would have had the exact right number of syllables. But they added in "for me," even though it threw off the rhythm of the song. So, and made them change the lip flaps. So.
That's an interesting design choice.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, that kind of thing happens a lot, and it's really interesting to look at.
Yeah, what else were we talking about? Oh yeah, about soundtracks. So wait, Alex, you want to do a video on soundtracks?
Yeah, I've actually got. Well, I had one video in the works. I'm not going to spoil what series it's about, but I end up going on this. What was supposed to be like a comparative example of like how you could do something wrong, and then it ended up filling like a full page, and I was like, this is a heck of a tangent for a series that isn't even the one that I'm talking about. Maybe I should just make this a separate video. So I'm working on that right now. Actually, it should be up. I've ruined it. Darn it. It'll be up at some point in time. But yeah,
eventually it will be on YouTube.
Eventually, but yeah, I don't know where I was going with that now. But yeah, what I'm doing with this video is kind of taking a look at the, for this video, I'm talking about Dragon Ball Z rather, and kind of comparing this one scene to the same scene in Dragon Ball Z Kai, except. Like, I'm looking at it strictly from the music, like the music that they use, and how one piece of music I think fits the scene better, and also like how it's implemented, like the timing of when it starts and when it ends, and the use of silence and whatnot, whereas the other version doesn't really capture the same feeling as well, and I think it completely changes the tone of the scene and kind of I don't know where else I was going with that, but yeah, music.
Mm-hmm.
Music.
Words.
Now, I mean, I'm a big fan of soundtracks. I want to do some videos on soundtracks, but I mean, I've done videos where I've talked about the soundtracks in anime and the importance of them, but I've never done a video strictly focusing on the soundtrack.
See, I've seen a couple of videos like that. Like, I know another YouTuber made a video about how the music in... Well, he made a couple of musical videos, but one that stood out to me was his video on Sangatsu no Lion, and how, like, how the music, like, matches, like, or even, like, the instrument that is used matches the tone of the scene, and, like, how the construction of that instrument, like, parallels the, I guess, like, the emotions the characters are going through, or something to that effect. I'm kind of butchering it a bit here, but it's really interesting to think about how, like, if you, like, using this one certain instrument could be, like, the representation of what this character is feeling, and it's not something that, like, I usually consider on the first watch. Like, I'll sit through it and I'll notice that, like, a piece of music hits me, because there are certain tracks that will get you, whether it's to make you feel happy, or make you feel sad, or make you feel like you want to go kick a door down or something, you know, just blood pumping aggressive music. But it's like, I don't really stop to think that often, like, why does it make me feel that way, and how well does it make me feel this emotion that it's going for.
I'll tell you what, so I'm sure you've seen Toradora, correct?
I have not seen Toradora, but I know you've given it glowing recommendations. I need to...
Yeah, okay.
It's on my list. My list of many shows.
As for, like, a sound, like just a single song, one second. I'm going to actually send you a link after the podcast to a song that's used in Toradora. That's, like, not exactly their main theme, but it's, like, the song that they use with, like, the most important moments. And it is by far my favorite song, like, I've seen in anime. Like, I've just had in general. It's like this weird mix of, like, happy and sad. It's like a really... I don't even call it melancholic, because it's not exactly melancholic, but it's this weird mix that, like, I feel like there's so many different emotions flowing through the song. That's incredible. It's like one of those songs that's just, like, perfect. I wouldn't change a thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to check out this song, because I know there are a couple of tracks like that in anime that just seem to capture so many different emotions at once, but they do it so beautifully. It's just, those are the ones that really stick with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so wait, what's your favorite soundtrack then?
Favorite soundtrack. That's a tough one. There are a lot of ones that I really like. Anything by Taku Iwasaki is generally pretty good. I know he did the soundtrack for Noragami, it's really good soundtrack. This, even though the show that it's attached to might not be that great, his soundtrack on Akame ga Kill is beautiful. There's this one track that plays for, like, the death of a particular character, and it's just really good. Like, the soundtrack in Akame ga Kill, it really kind of, I don't necessarily want to say that it elevates the show, because, you know, the plot, the direction it takes is fairly mediocre, but the soundtrack is just so good that almost in and of itself just bumps the show up just a little bit more on the enjoyment scale. So if I had to, like, really give a glowing recommendation for a soundtrack, like a soundtrack that you could just listen to without the show, with the show, it really kind of, it really does, what's the word I'm looking for? It really benefits the show beyond, like, what the story really could. The Akame ga Kill soundtrack is great, but my favorite anime has to probably have one of my favorite soundtracks. I'm going to say Hunter x Hunter 2011, because there are just so many songs that I could listen to on that soundtrack for hours. Or I could just watch the anime again, which, I mean, I'm sure I'll do.
Why should you watch the anime again, Alex? What's so great about Hunter x Hunter 2011, Alex?
Everything. Everything about it is great.
Except for that second half where it just falls
Except
apart.
for nothing.
Except for up to episode 60 to 70, I completely agree. I have my opinions on Hunter x Hunter.
As far as soundtracks go, sorry, you were gonna say something.
I was gonna throw the baton off to you because I didn't feel like fucking answering yet. So.
All right. As far as soundtracks go, I recently found out that a friend of mine had never seen Mahashiju Madoka Maguka. Madoka has an incredible soundtrack. That's Maho Shoujo Madoka Magica for anybody who doesn't speak stupid. Sorry, I saw that one shitpost where it's just a bunch of people on 4chan recounting the story in the worst possible way. Jesus. And that's what sticks in my head whenever I think about Madoka. But, yeah, Madoka has an incredible soundtrack, not just in terms of musical composition, but also, like, thematically. Because... like, Yuki Kajira is a genius, and she's one of the few people in the anime industry whose name I know. But the way she's able to make everybody's respective themes match up with their characters is, like, really inspiring. Like how Homura's theme is, like, hollow and echoey, and it keeps repeating the same thing over and over. How Miki's theme is just filled with violins, how Mami's theme's cut short, it's just really great. So, Madoka Magica. Plus, it's badass in, like, every possible way.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Madoka Magica's freaking soundtrack is fantastic.
And the animation's beautiful, too.
Oh, the show overall is just fantastic. It's like one of my favorites.
It's pretty masterful, yeah. The only reason I gave it an 8 instead of a 9 on Mal is because of Homura's constant close-up hair flips. That's the only thing that bothered me about the show, really. No, I'm serious. They did the hair flip thing so much that I was like, I can't give this a 9. So, if anybody's looking at my Mal and saying, like, oh, this is what a professional YouTuber thinks of all these animes, like, don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. I am a petty motherfucker.
As for favorite soundtrack, for me... Well, first off, I want to give off a second place, an honorable mention to... have you guys seen Redline?
No, but I've heard of it.
Have not, but it looks incredible.
It is also incredible. It's a really weird movie. It's one of those movies that it went through, like, production hell, went through, like, 5 different directors. So you can sense that while watching it. There's just some scenes in there where you're like, why the fuck is this? And it has nothing to do with the movie. But you can tell it's definitely like a piecemeal sort of movie. But the soundtrack is fantastic. Whoever put the soundtrack together for Redline was masterful. Like, each and every character has their own theme music that comes with them. It's fucking ridiculous. Like one of the main characters is Machine Head, and literally every time he walks into a scene, you hear in the background, Machine Head, and like the music starts. That's ridiculous, but it's so good. I mean, like the Yellow Line OST is fantastic too, which is like one of the songs inside of it. But for my all-time favorite soundtrack, I'd have to give it to Clanad, because Clanad has so many songs that you just you've heard, and like anytime you ever hear them, you know, oh yeah, that's Clanad. That's that's the what is it, the Dango song, or the opening, or a few different other songs. Like it's so memorable. Like it's really hard to forget once you've watched Clanad, like all this amazing soundtracks it had.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we've done so much talking about soundtracks, I just feel like I could list off a giant list of like, no wait, this is my favorite soundtrack. No wait, this is my favorite soundtrack.
Yeah, you didn't give a solid answer, so you should pick one. Like,
that's just my issue with a lot of things, is that because I'm so indecisive, I don't think I have a clear-cut favorite out of most things. Like with soundtracks, I could think of like 5 or 10 that I really love, but I've never really sat down to think which would I say is my all-time favorite. I don't think I can give you a clear answer.
I feel you.
But I mean, I'm watching Kill la Kill right now, and Kill la Kill is great. So I'm just gonna say Kill la Kill. Why not?
All right.
Dude, I got so much shit from last time I mentioned Kill la Kill.
Hmm.
I made a video on cinematography, and I brought up Kill la Kill, and I complimented it. I was saying even though the art style is debatably ugly, and that was my mistake. I said debatably ugly because here's the thing: is it looks chaotic, it looks ugly, but that's just because that's the style that they went with for the cinematography's sake. That helped the narrative by a long shot. Like, it was a great choice. But so many people shat on me for even hinting that Kill la Kill may not be the most gorgeous animation I'd ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
God, people get really caught up with that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
That's why you just don't even bother trying to explain yourself. Just, no matter what you mean, say, Kill la Kill is the worst show in the history of anime. And, like,
there you go.
Because people are always going to misunderstand whatever you say.
True story, man. I've gotten so much flack on like one of my newer videos. A lot of people like I think people take it really personally when I attack certain shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like my Attack on Titan season 2 is trash video got so much shit. It was hilarious.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we're going off the topic. How important is art style? That's the main point I was trying to get to, because I feel like art style is not super important to me. But that's just my personal opinion. I want to hear y'all's.
I think we're going to fight, but I'll let Alex give his opinion first.
So wait, when you say art style, are you just talking about how a show looks, or like its aesthetic? What specifically do you mean?
Okay, so like more so about the aesthetic itself and the art style. Like if
So not necessarily like the way something moves, like not necessarily how it's animated, but just kind of like how it looks visually. Like if I were to just take a screenshot, that's its art style. Is that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It for me it kind of depends, because I know you mentioned Kill la Kill earlier, and like when I first watched that show back in like 2015, and I like back when I didn't really know anything about how production worked, I would look at it and I viewed it as like its picture quality. Like if I stopped it, like just paused it and looked at it, like each picture might not be quite as detailed as something else in another show. At least, like, I don't want to say like this is where I'm gonna back myself into a corner, because I don't know a whole lot about how animation works. But like if I would take a screenshot of Kill la Kill and compare it to like a screenshot from, I don't know, some basic, or not basic anime, but I'll say Hunter x Hunter. Like as far as like picture quality goes, like a still frame, Hunter x Hunter seems like it would look more detailed, but with the way that everything moves in Kill la Kill, I feel like its art style is kind of like, I don't want to even say that it's not bad, but like the way that everything moves, Kill la Kill moves in a way that Hunter x Hunter does not move. That Hunter x Hunter cannot move because it's like picture quality, as I tend to refer to it as. Like I guess the difference is like picture quality versus animation quality, and if something has a higher picture quality, typically it doesn't move as well. But like art style, I do think it's important to a show. Like it's not even necessarily if it like how it looks, like if it looks good or bad, but like how distinct it looks or feels. Like Kill la Kill has a very distinct art style, as opposed to countless number of anime out there which just kind of follow this generic cookie cutter template, and no matter how good it may look in a picture, it just doesn't really like stand out. Like I know you had mentioned Gamers before, and how it kind of has a more standard art style in that sense.
Yeah,
like it definitely does not stand out quite as much as say Kill la Kill, which I think is to Kill la Kill's credit that it does look very unique. And well, now I'm getting off into animation, what I was about to say, so I'm just going to stop there before I say anything else stupid.
All right, Bryant, tear into me.
All right, well, I think art style's incredibly important. Not in the sense that I think you're trying to say it. So, like, if something has quote-unquote bad arts, then that's not a problem with the show. Like, Kaiba, for example. I haven't seen it personally, but I know that the art style isn't like A1 Pictures polished. because it's like really experimental, psychological, trying to go for a more direct appeal to emotion than something like Hiroaka. So going with that more rough, stylistic art style is to its credit. But also, like, try switching the art styles of some shows. Like, imagine Made in Abyss with the art style of, like, I don't know.
Be ridiculous.
Imagine Made in Abyss with the art style of 100% Pascal Sensei.
Oh my god.
Actually, that sounds amazing. No, forget that example. I want that show. Imagine Hibike Euphonium with the art style of Noragami.
Interesting.
So, like, Hibike Euphonium is a pretty good show. Like, the character interactions in Hibike are, like, top-notch. But a lot of what makes it special is the fact that it's incredibly pretty. So if you gave Hibike this really generic, polished art style that you see a lot these days, it's just not going to be the same show. It's not going to have the same impact because a lot of the appeal is in the visuals.
I see where you're going, but I think I can win this debate for once. I feel like I'm not backed into a corner. Because I feel like what you're kind of underselling here is the importance of cinematography. So I guess I'm not trying to make this into a trick question, is that the importance of animation itself is great and all, but I think when it comes to like quality itself, like trying to make super high quality pictures, it's not the most important thing. Like imagine if Euphorium had like no story whatsoever, but it was still super pretty. It would just be another Fruit of Grisaia, which, may I say, I still like the show, but super gorgeous, but at the same time, there's no real substance there. I think a lot of shows definitely overshoot the art style. Like, they try to get the art style locked down really quickly. The narrative and everything else comes second, especially, like, sound design now. Like, you know how rare it is to find a show where I go, damn, that's some good sound design. It's very rare. I mean, look at even Classroom of the Elite. Like, the narrative in that show is trash. And I feel like if they just cut back on the soundtrack, which they spent obviously a lot of time on, which I'm going to do a video on soon, I'm sure, and then also cut back a lot on the visuals and focus much more on the narrative, that show could have been really fucking good.
I was about to say we would have a show that was mediocre overall instead of having some really good parts. But keep going. We've had this. We have
differences in opinions. Okay. But I think that's one of the major things is that I feel like art style should come third. I feel like first should be story, second should be music and audio that goes with it, and then third goes the art style. Like in what is it? We had a saying in our high school class for video editing was video is 2 parts visual, 3 parts audio. That's why we call it video. You know, so. You know, that's just my personal touch on it.
All right, sure, I agree with that.
Did I just win an argument against Explanation Point?
I don't think we're having an argument anymore. I think it's just like, I was saying that visual presentation is important, and you were saying, yeah, but it's not as important as these 2 other things. And like, quiet. Okay, sure.
I won one. Let me have this, okay?
Let the record show that Matt won the argument.
It's over. I think I've lost every argument I've had with you on this fucking podcast so far.
Leave your opinions in the comments below.
I just want one, okay? Oh god. No, I mean, I think I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. I think art style is definitely important. I definitely think art style is something that helps a lot, especially like as a huge cinematography fan. I love it when shows use the art style to their advantage to tell the story more. But I think a lot of shows just focus too much on how pretty it looks, making it look super pretty, which is unnecessary.
Well, it's the same argument that you have in the video game community about the importance of graphics. Like, so many studios put so much emphasis on graphics that the gameplay doesn't work, the story is bad. Like,
Call of Duty 27. With 4 more pixels.
4 more pixels total in the whole game.
There we go.
It's just one screen with 4 pixels.
Call of Duty hard mode, guys. Let's see, what else can we talk about, guys?
Well, I've got this note card here from my anime class that says for homework, we're supposed to discuss our opinions on the anime industry and whether or not anime is mainstream.
Good job, Dad. So smooth. So smooth. Who was it? Someone in the comments of our last video was like, I don't really understand the, what was he saying? The flavor of this podcast, but I like it.
I don't either, man. None of us do.
It was supposed to be like just casual at first, and then it's just transformed into some weird ass shit. I don't even know.
Meta bullshit.
It's so meta. We've broken the fourth wall every fucking podcast.
Well, at this point, I think we've broken the 5th wall because we were having the casual chat podcast. Then it was the podcast that is a casual chat podcast. And now we're the casual chat that references the podcast that is a casual chat podcast.
God damn. Dude, we're breaking some layers now.
All right,
let's dial it back. Opinions on the anime industry, because there's a lot of drama going around.
Fuck it.
Like, because there's a lot of. I have this little thing against, like, I know, like, who was it? I'm trying to remember his name. The anime man, Joey. He, I don't have anything against him personally. I think he's a great guy. But he did like this whole video about how the anime industry is suffering and how we need to step in and help. And I think that's wrong. I think what Joey was trying to do is kind of, I don't think he did this on purpose, like kind of like, but I feel like he's trying to create a fake situation in a way. Mm-hmm. Like, I understand that in working in the industry itself, it's not great. Like, it's definitely not a fantastic industry to be living in. But at the same time, it's an industry of passion. It's like the film industry here in the U.S. We work 12 to 14-hour days, 5 days a week, 6 days a week sometimes, and then, why the fuck would you ever do that? Because I fucking love it, man.
Mm-hmm.
I like being on set. I like working. If these guys didn't want a job in the animation field, it's not like, oh, my mother raised me to be an animator. Like, no one, you don't go into there because, like, oh, yeah, I wanted a really safe career. Like,
mm-hmm.
I think that was my kind of thing, is that Joey was trying to force us to try to help the industry in any way, shape, or form we can. But at the same time, it's like, how can we change it? Like, we're going to pass legislation in the United States to regulate the Japanese anime industry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's overstepping our boundaries. Because we got to remember, we're a foreign audience. Like, This isn't being made for us. This is being made for Japan. We're just lucky enough to get it also.
Right.
I don't know. What's y'all's opinions on the whole thing?
What I was going to say in response to you saying that this is an industry based on passion, I was going to say that it's an industry that takes advantage of passion. So they have a workforce of people who are very clearly interested in what they're doing, who are very clearly in love with their work, and they use that as an excuse to pay them garbage, overwork them, all because this is your option if you want to work as an animator in Japan. But overall, keeping in mind that I've already undermined my own argument in this very podcast, or this very chat in the halls of our high school that we go to, keeping in mind that I've already undermined my own credibility by saying that I don't know anything about Japanese culture, I feel like the issue isn't the anime industry in general, it's Japanese work culture. Because, from what I understand, in Japan, they have this whole idea that work is life, and that you should 100% dedicate yourself to your work, and if you're not, then you're not living properly. So, when you have work like animation that is mostly a labor of love, where you want to dedicate yourself to it anyway, and then you combine that with this culture that says work is everything, you create a breeding ground for an industry that says, okay, we can work these people to death, literally, and they won't complain about it. So the fact that people are passionate about their work isn't an excuse for accepting these kinds of conditions.
I mean, I completely agree. That's a good argument, actually. I didn't even think about that. It's a very valid point. What about you, Alex? What's your opinions on the anime industry? How do we solve this global problem?
This global problem in Japan.
There we go. This is in Japan.
We solve it by not watching anime. Yeah.
I don't think that would work.
Yeah.
I've got nothing then. That's
Like, I mean, honestly, I don't think there's much we can do besides just spreading awareness of the problem. Because the foreign market isn't what these people are creating anime for, like you said, Matt. The solution for the problem has to come from within Japan.
So
And
we should all move to Japan.
we should all
and
move
raise
to
awareness.
Japan and change Japan. Yep.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's
We should
it.
make Japan America. We should take the Japanese and push them somewhere else.
There we go. We just need to what was it? Manifest destiny, Japan, guys.
Yep. From sea
No,
to
trust-
shining sea to shining sea.
No, but
And
I don't
also
know.
Japan.
I think it's a case of like it's just when you say that I think it's just a case of Japan as a whole. You see that in America too. It's like a case of like it's just how the government kind of runs. It's not exactly something about like making a YouTube video could fix. I mean, if you're really wanting to get like into it and try to solve the problems, like you would have to get into the Japanese government and try to change it from the inside, or
Yep.
create a war. We can go a Kame ga Kill style.
We go to war for the state of the anime industry. The Great Weeb War of 2018.
We just gotta get Donald Trump on our side, guys.
Yep. No, and all the Japanese people are just sitting in their animation studios like, what's going on? Like, we're doing this for you!
There you go.
World War Weeb.
Yep.
Word read. Speaking of which, here's a really interesting thing though. You already announced what we were talking about, so it's not as surprising anymore. Is the anime mainstream? Opinions?
No.
No, Alex?
I don't think so.
Here's my thing. I don't think anime is mainstream yet, but I think anime. I always tell everybody this. I feel like anime is about 10 years behind gaming. Because gaming's mainstream now. It's normal. It's completely average. But I feel like anime's been on that same path. I think it's always been like 10 years behind gaming. So like 10 years ago, the anime industry is where the gaming industry is, which is pretty neat to me. So I don't think it's mainstream yet, but I want it to be mainstream. And here's something interesting I didn't realize is that most people I found don't exactly agree with me. Do you guys want anime to be mainstream or no?
Yes. But I want Alex to answer before I explain.
I mean, like in a way, yes. Well, I was also gonna say in a way no, but really, like when I think of like shows that I really enjoy, I want more people to enjoy them. So if that would mean becoming mainstream, that would mean those shows get more attention, meaning that more people could enjoy them. I could talk about it with more people. So I think yes. But I could also see a negative to it.
Well, my idea is that if anime becomes more mainstream, then more anime gets made with higher budgets. So, yeah, we're gonna get a whole lot more garbage anime, but that's just, like, a byproduct of more anime in general getting made. Like, 70% of everything is mediocre. So, if you make more anime, then there's more incentive to make some anime that's more experimental. Some anime that appeals more to niche audiences, and make that anime better. So.
That's interesting. You see, here's the thing. I like I said, I'm a big fan of the anime going mainstream. My only fear is that the consequences that are going to happen. Like I said, we're about 10 years behind gaming, in my opinion. This is all opinionated stuff. None of this is factual. But you guys got to remember how much shit the gaming community went through when it became mainstream. Like all the media attention, all the hatred, all of, like the studies that show that's illegal or it's creating serial killers.
Yeah, so what?
You know,
Stupid people gonna be stupid.
I mean, yeah, but I'm waiting for that to be anime.
That's what it already
nervous
is in some places.
Yeah,
I mean,
they've already been.
But I don't think it's anywhere near the level.
It's not anywhere near as bad as it's gonna get.
Yeah.
But, like, soon enough, and then after that it'll pass. Like, for example, going back to this whole gaming metaphor, now that gaming has become mainstream, look at the games we're getting. Sure, we're getting yearly Call of Duties, yearly FIFAs, yearly, like, Battlefields, but we're also getting Crypt of the Necrodancer. We're getting Goat Simulator. We're getting Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. Like, these kinds of things that now that people know, hey, there's an audience who's interested in these kinds of things, we can take more risks. And there are going to be more games taking more risks because there are more games. So...
Yeah, well, I just want to warn you right now. I'm playing devil's advocate because all three of us agree on the same subject. So I completely agree with you. You're making the same points I was going to make. Is that it's a case of like we're gonna have to get through some tough times, and I think the anime industry is getting. I say within the next year or two, especially when the Olympics come around, there's gonna be a lot of shit about anime, at least in the media, trying to fucking demonize what we're talking, the stuff we're talking about. So that's one of the things I get nervous about. But I think in the end, it's a plus. It's just a case of getting through that whole entire thing.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I mean, just look at how toxic the gaming community used to be versus how nice it is now. Like, you know, if you'd asked me 5 years ago if I was a gamer, I would have said no because I didn't game 24 hours a day. But now when people ask me, am I a gamer? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm a gamer. I play once a week. You know, like that's...
Yeah, I watch movies.
Exactly. So I don't know. I'm pretty happy. I would be personally happy if it went mainstream. Because not only does it like help like the industry grow more, it gives me more content to make about, and it gives me more audience members to enjoy my content.
Yep.
Which is another reason why I do like more people knowing about anime.
I was waiting to jump in with that and have the ultimate shilling, but you stole my thunder, Matt.
I'm so sorry. I'm glad we're all on the same page, though.
Yep.
Maybe it's just a thing about like anime YouTubers are more so into it becoming mainstream. I think there's a few anime YouTubers who say they want it to become mainstream and don't really mean it. Like I don't want to call out names, but I know a few YouTubers definitely like pretend like, oh yeah, I want anime to be mainstream, but the second anything mainstream comes out, they're like, fuck this show.
Well, the thing about anime that becomes mainstream, because you have things like Sword Art Online, things like Attack on Titan, is that mostly they aren't willing to take very many risks, so they don't wind up being anything special. Now, Attack on Titan was a little bit bolder than pretty much anything else that's gotten mainstream appeal, but I feel like the reason it was able to maintain that mainstream appeal, I mean, I made a whole video about this, is because aside from starting out feeling like it was going to make some very big risks and have a very strong atmosphere, it really doesn't.
Well, but I think the thing is that we're seeing is that the big mainstream animes that are coming out are taking more risk and are generally becoming better. So we went from, what was the first big one? I guess we'll go with Sword Art Online as a starting point. Although I think it's a little biased. I'm pretty sure there's another show behind that was...
Well, there are plenty of more mainstream anime, like... Alright, I guess like Naruto wasn't mainstream per se.
Naruto, I think Naruto is kind of mainstream.
It's mainstream among anime fans.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's mainstream in general. I would call Sword Art Online like borderline mainstream and Attack on Titan legit mainstream.
Yeah, I think I can see that. But let's list out the mainstream anime. I would say it went from Sword Art Online to Attack on Titan to, I would want to say One Punch Man, but that one's kind of on the teetering, and then to My Hero Academia. You know, they're getting progressively better. Like honestly, like the mainstream anime, like
if you're including Hero Ac in that, if you're including Hero Ac in that list, I wouldn't say it's better than One Punch Man, but
yeah, it's a hard count, but like it's still like they're both really good shows, nevertheless. So it's kind of one of those things where it's the shows that are mainstream keep improving, and people are starting to get more into about what anime is actually about.
Yep.
So I think Digibro had an argument that I think was very good. It was that if you want to show someone anime, don't show them Sword Art Online, because that's not really what anime is about. Show them something that's anime, that's really about the genre. So like I think one of the shows that got me hooked on pretty early was like Clan Ad and Ouran High School Host Clubs. Really anime. But you know, that's what I wanted, and that's why I enjoyed it, and then I fell in love with the genre as a whole. You know, I think it's important. That's my point.
Same.
Any final thoughts before we have to head back to class, guys?
I like anime.
I like anime too.
I don't like anime. I've been lying to you all. I'm doing this for I don't know why.
I don't
Fucking
like
betrayed.
Alex.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for
Alright.
coming out and watching and joining the podcast as usual. This has been Matt.
Explanation point?
And MathWiz97, who's about to go find a locker somewhere and hide in it.
I
Oh,
don't blame you. We'll put you in there. Don't worry.
No, I was kidding.
I'll get the janitor.
No!